Far away in the middle of the cold southern ocean, there was a mysterious island completely isolated from the rest of the world. The island was covered with green grass, rocky hills, thick fog, and the endless sound of crashing waves. Millions of seabirds lived there peacefully for thousands of years. Strange creatures wandered freely across the land, and the island itself looked like a lost paradise hidden in the ocean. There were no dangerous predators on this island. The birds built their nests directly on the ground without fear. Everything in nature followed its own balance. It was a place untouched by modern civilization. But no one could have imagined that one small human mistake would slowly turn this peaceful island into one of the worst environmental disasters ever witnessed. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The changes were so small that nobody noticed them. But over time, scientists realized that something terrifying was happening here. Nature itself had started collapsing. The island was becoming a frightening example of what can happen when humans interfere with an ecosystem they do not fully understand. The people who later visited the island saw an unbelievable transformation with their own eyes. The land that was once full of life was slowly turning silent and empty. But the biggest mystery remained unanswered. What exactly happened on this isolated island? How did thousands of animals suddenly become part of a deadly chain reaction? And why did the disaster continue growing year after year until almost everything on the island was destroyed? To understand the truth, we have to go back more than 200 years. In the early 1800s, sailors exploring the dangerous southern seas discovered this remote island for the first time. Back then, the island was overflowing with life. Huge colonies of seabirds covered the cliffs and beaches. Everywhere you looked, animals lived peacefully without fear of attack. Since there were no natural predators, the creatures of the island had never learned how to defend themselves. Soon, however, humans began arriving more frequently. Hunters from distant countries came searching for animal skins, oil, and meat. Large numbers of animals were killed every year. Slowly, the balance of the island started changing. But the real danger arrived in a way nobody expected. Hidden inside the wooden ships of the sailors were small stowaway animals. As soon as the ships reached the shore, these creatures escaped onto the island and quickly spread across the land. At first, nobody paid attention to them. They looked harmless. But within a short time, their population exploded. The island had no predators capable of controlling them. Food was everywhere, and the climate allowed them to reproduce rapidly. Within only a few years, thousands of them had taken over the island. They invaded bird nests, destroyed eggs, and attacked defenseless chicks. Species that had survived peacefully for centuries suddenly faced a danger they had never experienced before. The destruction spread quickly. Seeds disappeared. Small plants stopped growing. Flowers were eaten before they could bloom. Entire areas of vegetation slowly vanished. The ecosystem that once remained perfectly balanced was now beginning to collapse. At first, hunters and sailors ignored the warning signs, but eventually they noticed something strange. Birds were disappearing. The island was becoming quieter every year. Even human food supplies were being destroyed. That was when they decided to solve the problem themselves. They introduced another animal onto the island, believing it would hunt the smaller invaders and restore balance. But instead of fixing the problem, they accidentally created something far worse. The newly introduced predators quickly discovered that hunting birds was much easier. Seabirds could barely fly away in time. Their nests were exposed, and their chicks were defenseless. Predators climbed rocky cliffs, searched through grasslands, attacking thousands. One wrong decision led to another disaster. Soon, the island became trapped in a deadly cycle. The number of predators increased rapidly because food was now everywhere. Entire bird colonies disappeared from places they had existed for centuries. Species that once filled the skies slowly vanished forever. But the nightmare was still not over. During long sea voyages, sailors often carried small animals as food supplies. Some were later released onto the island intentionally. Without predators to control them, these animals multiplied at an unbelievable speed. Their numbers grew into the tens of thousands. They began eating enormous amounts of grass, roots, and small plants. Areas that were once covered in thick green vegetation slowly turned barren. The island started changing shape itself. The roots that once held the soil together disappeared. Deep holes covered the land as animals dug tunnels everywhere. Heavy rain and powerful ocean winds slowly weakened the ground. Eventually, landslides and erosion began destroying entire sections of the island. Bird nests collapsed into the earth. Large colonies were wiped out in moments. Scientists later described the island as a place where the laws of nature had completely broken down. Every introduced species made the disaster worse. One animal destroyed the plants, another hunted the birds, another spread across the island faster than anyone could control. The most terrifying part was how quickly everything happened. Within only a few decades, a paradise filled with life became almost unrecognizable. Vast green fields disappeared. Cliffs that were once crowded with birds became silent. Many species vanished completely from the island without ever recovering. Researchers who later visited the island were shocked by what they saw. The ground looked scarred and damaged. Entire ecosystems had collapsed. In some places, almost no vegetation remained at all. The island that once supported millions of animals was now struggling to survive itself. For years, humans tried different methods to stop the disaster, but every solution seemed to create another problem. The island had become a warning to the entire world. It showed how fragile nature truly is, and how a single human action can trigger consequences beyond imagination. Even today, the story of this mysterious island remains one of the most terrifying examples of environmental destruction ever recorded. It is proof that once the balance of nature is broken, repairing the damage can become almost impossible.